we're swapping these old chockies over for these new things. They're quite different. This one has a really fat part, which this skinnier part goes in, and this one has a really, really thin part, and this bigger part. We did a pretty gross video of it. There was like tons of rap who was stabbing her.
Yeah, done a lot of things to it since then. One of the next things is to get these shockeys out. It's because we've lowered it so much now that these original shockeys, even though they are wrapped, didn't actually have any travel either.
What?
So
that's how short it's. I'll try to explain it. So that's how short this one is. But it was actually sitting this short.
it's pretty hard to get short shockeys that will fit in most things. So we stick with these Nissan Navara D21. I think it's also D22 front shock absorbers, 2-wheel drive, and they're short enough and strong enough to, to go pretty low. So we've got the car up on some chassis stands, and we're going to check and see our mounting position and how these shockeys are going to work exactly. I've got a fairly good idea since I've done so many with these shockeys before, but I've got some plate on the bottom. This is just what I had. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be that thick. It could be a little bit thinner. It could be another shape, possibly a better shape than this one, but this is just what we had. We had 4 of these just by coincidence, and they had the right size hole in them, again by coincidence. So these are going to be what I use to mount to the shocky plate. Now this is not ideal because the suspension is hanging all the way down, and you can see that there's a big gap up here. Now, in a perfect world, you would want the shocky to not be hanging down that much, because what's going to happen is when the suspension goes all the way down like this, not that it ever will in this situation, but if it ever did, it would pull on the shocky, and all the weight of the car or the suspension would be on the shocky for the moment that the suspension's hanging down, which would probably damage the shocky. But in this case, everything's going to be okay. And this thing's going to be so low once we lower it back down that this shocky will be fairly compressed anyway, and it will probably never ever get to this situation unless it rolls over, which that would be a worst case scenario. What we're going to do is set this in the right position. We'll put the jack under here and jack the diff up a little bit. Henry will get the jack in a minute. We'll jack the diff up so that this makes contact with the top again, and this will be up here, and then we're going to mark where the plates will sit, so we can take this off and weld these to that. Again, ideally you would want the suspension to at full drop not be putting weight on the shocky, but this is just what we're working with. Let's jack the diff up, and we'll get this plate closer there and work out our angles and make sure the shocky's not on any weird angle different to the factory setup. We can pull it apart and weld those plates on. Mark both sides and get the angles all correct. Henry's using our new quick lift super cheap jack. All right, slow down. Now we just want to make this shocky become captive in here. So Henry's going to just keep jacking this up until the shocky's trapped in there.
I think we might be coming off the chassis.
Nah, not yet. Running out of muscles. Come on. More energy. Yeah, what's the number plates, buddy? Costs the same amount as the truck. Couple more, 2 more. You got it. Come on, push. 1 more. These are right. I said 2 more, but that's a half one. Go then. That wasn't it. That wasn't even a half one. We're down the quarter pumps, are we? All right. A little bit more. 1 more. Good enough.
How about one tiny one, you reckon?
Yeah, go on then. I really like this idea, but it's what we're working with. We don't have any major modifications just yet. We just are going to put these tabs on here. Like I said, weld them on. It's going to mount the shock in the original position, but there's a much shorter travel shock, so we'll actually have some shock absorber doing something. So the next thing what we're going to do is try and get this shock to sit nice and straight. Well, it's on an angle, but you know what I mean. As straight as it can be and fit into the position that it was meant to be in from the factory, so it's not binding at the top and there's not too much of a, you know, whatever going on down here. It's not too far tilted towards the front or the back, and the shock's not on a big angle, so we want the shock to be nice and straight and not to be sitting too much of an angle. So hopefully we'll be able to get it so the shock is just fits in there without being, you know, jammed in there. Right, so we just marked it. Doesn't have to be great. We just marked it so we know not to go too far forward or too far back in that location. But we'll be able to use the hole where the old shocky mounted anyway to sort of center it. But it's just to give us an idea. We'll do the same on the other side. So we'll get these U-bolts off, pull our suspension apart again. I want to make sure the jack's not on the diff though now. Otherwise, the U-bolts will have some tension on them. So we'll back the jack off, grab our shocky out, and get those U-bolts free.
Will probably just fall out.
Well, it will, but I don't want it to fall out because it might damage it. So you let the jack down and we'll get the shocky out, huh?
I think you might be a bit too close to a wheel.
Me? Okay, that's good safety there. Okay. All right, off you go.
Maybe a wheel.
No, I'm all right. I'm not that fat. Come on, let's go. Drop it. Not fast, but...
What?
If you're over there practicing to spell your name.
What will we take that off for? So heavy it keeps falling off.
Do them like that until they get real close to the end, and then use your fingers.
Even the dog is...
It sounds like you just haven't been eating enough Wheat Bix or something. Well, you should be able to get with your fingers. Just don't put those fingers in your mouth until you clean them. Right, this plate's going to be a little bit heavy, so don't let it fall on you. But you should be able to get it with the other hand. That's it. Give it a wiggle down. That's it. Good job. Once you've got a couple of questionable caterpillars down there, it's time to chuck it back on. Hope that all those measurements meant something. Just kidding, it'll be fine. You could trim that down. It doesn't need to do with the shocky, so I'm just going to leave them looking like that, nice and flat. Kind of goes with the rest of the truck, right? Rough. So we're going to leave these washers just the way they are. It's plates. Put the shocky back on. Obviously tacked it with the shocky in there so it still fits back in there. Let's chuck it back in. All right, Henry's gonna rattle gun those nuts back on the bottom of the U-bolts there. Give her some. Wrong way. Actually, I'll put it in. You can put the bolts through if you like.
No, I want to put in you put the bolt through.
Well, you're in the wrong spot.
Move it around.
All right.
Got in now with that nut
That
for
big
it.
nylock nut. No, it's behind the socket.
I'm gonna have to get around the other side of the thing, I think.
Oh, really?
Kneel somehow. I'm gonna have to sleep under here, I think.
It won't thread up anymore because the nylon will grab and make it tight. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Hold it there for 1 sec.
I'm gonna get out for
Yep. She's out. All right. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll get Henry to put the jack back under the center of the diff, and we'll jack it up, and we'll put our shock rubbers and bushes and all that sort of jazz back on the top, and then we'll lower it down and see if it all works. The nuts, yeah, the whole lot, the whole kit. You get the jack. All right, so Henry's going to keep jacking it up till the shockies bottom out on those rubbers there. That's good. Hold it there. All right, now we got to get the right combo of nuts, washers, and rubbers here. So I like to use these thinner sort of ones. I'll put those up there first. Oh, sorry, that's crappy camera work. Put that up there first. It'll stop the rubber from getting pulled into the hole. We'll put the rubber on next, like that. And then we'll put on one of these heavier washers, which will be the top washer. And then we'll put on our nut. I don't worry about using the locking nuts. There's not really much point. I don't think I've ever had one fall off, but if you feel it might fall off, I reckon probably use a lock nut. All right, that's looking spotty dog. And we're now ready to jack the jack up some more and get the chassis stands out.
Do we want to jack up a little more? Just let me go and check if the chassis stand comes out.
Just reach under real quick and grab it out. Okay, get it away from the truck.
Let me check that one. Too much. Yeah. Go.
Good? You sure?
Sure.
Hang on. Ugh. Henry's gonna absolutely slam this. Watch the truck doesn't hit you on the way down. Oh, feel that. Give that a push.
Oh, yeah, that's strong now.
Remember how bouncy it was?
Yeah.
It bounced into the roof.
Yeah, and it doesn't even bounce into the roof, eh?
Oh. Uh-oh, Henry out there jumping like a crazy person. Keep going, buddy. Maybe. Looks alright under here. Everything seems good. Shockies are working. I hate that angle, but it's just what we got. So that was a success, wasn't it? Give it a bounce. Look at that control. Much better than it was before.
Yeah.
Just about bounced yourself out of there before.
Yeah.
It's nice and solid. Look at that.
I was like, when I jumped in here before, I was like this. Boing, boing, boing.
Good. Jump as hard as you can. Go. Look at that. Spot on. Good job.